Let me introduce very quickly our keynote. Mr. Marcus Shingles, CEO Exponential Destiny, to deliver his keynote speech on how the next generation network, an immersive and experiential metaverse, can bring to life and support the SDGs, and why interoperability standards are key to achieving success. Marcus, thank you. The floor is yours.
I'm excited to be here. My team's excited to be here. You're going to hear from all of them in a moment. So we're going to talk about the metaverse. And I'm excited to share with you is an opportunity around an NFT. Who knows what an NFT is? You probably saw all the hype. Everyone knows what an NFT is? Well, we're going to launch an NFT around the SDGs. How does that sound? While supplies last, limited, so get here first. And guess what? These NFTs actually work in a metaverse because we're going to create an SDG metaverse land. This is going to be a very eccentric land where you can have avatars and you can pick your SDG and you can be an SDG in this environment and you have your own metaverse. And if you act quickly, Snoop Dogg has bought some land in this metaverse. Now, this is not the original Snoop Dogg from Los Angeles. This is the Snoop with an SDG dog. And you can buy and be his neighbor in this digital world. And we're going to have initial coin offerings. So we're going to have crypto, of course. We're going to have a token. And because we're here, we're offering the ITU attendees today a special treat. You get 20% off any land that you buy in the metaverse if you buy it today. Limited time access, first edition NFTs. There's only 17. Easy and convenient payment options. And, you know, we have really high hopes for this environment, this metaverse we're going to create. Because you've seen these headlines. These aren't fictitious headlines. Someone bought a virtual property in the metaverse next to the rap artist Snoop Dogg for $450,000. You heard this NFT that sold for $24 million at auction. So we're excited. Is it clear? You've heard of this, right? The metaverse? So here's the bad news. The bad news is only about 60% of you realize that I'm joking. About 30% of you think I'm serious and crazy. And why shouldn't you? These headlines I showed you are real headlines. This is what's happening. And the real bad news is about 10% of you are going to come over to the booth that we have over here where we're demoing virtual reality in the metaverse, over here all day, all week actually, and you're going to actually want to purchase some of Snoop Dogg's land to be his neighbor. What are we becoming? Maybe this. I feel like that guy. I used to play. Who played this game when they were younger? I think there's NFTs and tokens in there, in crypto. I'm trying to make a point, obviously. Here's my point. And I'm being very serious about this and authentic with all of you. The hype around metaverse is spoiling it for all of us in terms of the real potential that we can use this environment and this technology for. We've been working in this environment for 2 years, long before Zuckerberg changed his name to Meta. And it's been transformative to the schools that we work with in inner cities, including one school in South Central Los Angeles that 6 of the individuals on the stage graduated from. And now they've done about 20 metaverse projects over the last year and a half. They're probably the most advanced resources in this field. They're learning how to code the next generation of the internet, not 30 years later in a coding class when it's too late, but as it happens, they're upskilling into this. This is what we're going to talk about today. There's empirical data that shows this environment, these tools, are superior for education. You're going to hear from teachers and principals today on research we've done over the last 2 years and how significant it actually is. You're going to hear people talk about how this is leveling the playing field. It's helping with post-traumatic stress syndrome and mental health issues, which is an epidemic right now. And it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to upskill and reskill people into a new economy. As AI and robotics starts to automate jobs away, there's a responsibility for us to reskill and upskill individuals into new economy jobs. This is a field you can do it. Why is this a field that's more apt to that? Is because it's a non-coding coding. It relies on your creative skill sets more than it does a technical coding when you're designing this environment. So we're seeing the firsthand potential for this. You're not going to hear from me today. I'm just about finished. You're actually going to hear from 6 recent graduates from South Central Los Angeles who are now professionals in this field. You're going to hear from a teacher who won a United States National Teacher of the Year Award, who we've been working with for 2 years, and she's going to give you her perspective on how transformative it's been. You're going to hear from a principal out of Chicago that we're working with in terms of how he's using it at his school. The goal is these metrics that PricewaterhouseCoopers found in a study back in 2020, keep in mind that's 2020, that's a rather long time ago in this field of technology. Virtual reality learners, when compared with classroom and digital learners, were 4 times faster to train, 275% improved confidence to act on issues, 3.75% times more emotionally connected to content, and more focused on than their e-learning peers. And the cost can scale. So we're working with low-income, marginalized communities that don't have big funds or big budgets because the technology has come down so much in price, we can now use this for these environments. And the question is, when you take the SDGs and you marry it to that type of learning aptitude, what type of potential is that? And I think our research is starting to show there's very high potential. It's very exciting work. We're going to make a special announcement later. Right now, to start off, I'm going to have everyone on my team just share for a minute or two the work that we're doing in this space. I'm going to start off with a video from a young female who's back in Los Angeles. She couldn't make the trip, but I'll start off with that.
Hi, my name is Iris Aurelio Ochoa Garcia, and I am 19 years old, and I graduated from a public high school in South Central Los Angeles. I am proud to say that I am the first generation to graduate from high school in my family, and now I am the first generation to go on to college. When I was a junior in high school, I had this pressure on me to learn how to code because it was supposedly going to get me a better paying job. And going into this class, I did not know how to code at all. And I was introduced to a new program called Python, and I was just completely bamboozled. It was super hard for me. I struggled to get that A. So when I graduated high school, I was a little discouraged because it kind of embedded in my head that I needed to learn coding. It's obviously a very important skill set, but it's just not for everybody. For people who are not technologically advanced like myself. Then coming into this metaverse, it really showed me that I did not need to know how to code in order to be relevant in this new economy. This was like a new no coding. And now I'm working with schools and commercial groups, and I'm thriving in this environment because it turns out that my creative skill set and my storytelling and communication piece finally come all together in this new metaverse. And that, to me, that's like amazing. SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth, is actually very well embedded in here because now I am very comfortable knowing that I can attain a great paying job. And most importantly, I have fun creating all these environments with schools and with different people. It really makes me happy. And I can't say that Python made me all that happy to learn.
I'd like to introduce Kevin to you, who will share with you his experience as well.
Thank you, Marcus. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Vega. I'm 20 years old, president of the commercial division here at Exponential Destiny, and a first-generation college student. It's a pleasure to be speaking here with all of you. Back in 2015 is when I first met Marcus. I was a freshman at high school that he adopted to establish an entrepreneurship program to teach us about new emerging technologies and business. We would discuss potential social impact and or business use cases of innovation, such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing, robotics. And of course, we learned about virtual reality and the metaverse. However, back then it wasn't referred to as the metaverse. It was actually called spatial web or Web 3.0. That was in 2015. And the VR metaverse space was very premature. It was hard to find a pragmatic use case, and there was very limited interest or client demand in the marketplace. It was also extremely expensive for the required software and hardware just to get started, and there was very few options. Most significantly, the actual experience wasn't very realistic, and you could even get nauseated. Fast forward to 2020, we really started to observe a major inflection point in the evolution of the technology. However, software and hardware came down dramatically in price, and the quality of the experience improved exponentially. In addition, COVID significantly accelerated the switch in VR being used just for consumption like gaming to more of a production environment that was also less technical to use. As we started to observe a growing demand in the marketplace by businesses that wanted to experiment with these capabilities, I started to shadow Marcus on some professional consulting client projects using VR across every industry. You are currently viewing some of those on the screen. Initially, I did this to learn in VR and be mentored. But very quickly, I started to obtain the skills required to contribute and even lead some of these client projects. I've now been part of 25 projects with the team over 18 months. I attribute this flat learning curve to being digitally native, ambitious, and comfortable in these virtual environments, and I really enjoy it. I feel like I've learned to code the next generation of the internet. If I did it, others can do it too, but the window of the opportunity for capitalizing on these skills is now. With that, I would like to introduce my good friend and colleague, Juan, who's going to take you through a personal story that I think you'll find really inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for the amazing introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Ramon Felix. Like Kevin, I am also a first-generation college student, and I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. Back in 2020, when COVID hit and shut down most of the world, I was working at Target, the retail store, working as an intern associate, and I knew that this job was not sustainable for my future. But at the time, it was the only option and opportunity I had. During the same period of time, I reconnected with some of the core Exponential Destiny members. I myself was a part of the initial pilot program back in the high school. Throughout this new chapter of Exponential Destiny, I was able to upskill and reskill myself by helping several companies figure out how they can use virtual reality and the metaverse in their businesses. One of the clients we worked with was a global consumer product company that we worked with on a pilot program. The CEO was so impressed and engaged with this initiative that they wanted to go beyond this pilot program. They saw the potential of the metaverse and realized how it can be leveraged and used in their businesses by showcasing products and using the metaverse to train their individuals. Then they asked if we had resources that we can allocate to them or help them to be able to continue these pilot programs. And because of this, we advised them to use ourselves, and I was one of these individuals that we used. They did not realize that they were able to directly hire us and use them as resources. But our goal at Exponential Destiny is to grab individuals like myself from low-income communities and reskill and upskill and have the potential to be able to build a career and gain professional salaries. From this, in 2020, from being a retail associate at Target to now being a metaverse consultant and being the head of a virtual reality at the global consumer company, while also doing some of my social work here at the Exponential Destiny team. Now, I want you to stop and think for a minute. Now I am 20 years old and have been professionally employed for almost a year now. I am working in one of the most emerging fields and have an enormous career potential. The metaverse and virtual reality was an opportunity where I leapfrogged my knowledge and skill set to be relevant in the new economy. Thank you.
What we did was, after doing commercial projects, which you heard from Kevin and the team, we then converted to work with schools, because after talking to Marco, my co-founder, we realized these environments we're working on that were immersive and experiential were exceptional, especially for schools that didn't have a lot of income could adopt these. So we started working with schools, and Samantha here is going to take you through a major project we did with one of the largest school districts in the United States for 6 months.
Thank you, Marcus. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to present to you all. My name is Samantha Aguilar Araujo. I'm 21 years old, and like most of my team, from South Central Los Angeles, and a first-generation college student. You heard Marcus talk about this study that shows the effectiveness of virtual reality training when compared to in digital classrooms. We were interested in seeing if we can apply these statistics to public school systems. So we partnered with the 6th largest school district in the United States, Broward County, Florida, and the National Centers for Family Learning, which is a nonprofit that's completely based around family learning. Altogether, we did a 6-month project where our primary goals were looking at immersive and experimental methods and capabilities applied in low-income, under-resourced public school systems. The secondary objective was looking at the technology, so it was more of a research-based initiative. To do this project, we had a whole methodology. We divided into 7 teams of 5 members each, and those teams then competed against each other and used these processes to create these environments in the virtual reality spaces around the topic that they chose, specifically healthy living on a budget. So we took them through design thinking, journey mapping, and storytelling exercises. I'm an art education major in college at the moment, so this played to some of my strengths in art and communication. Essentially, coming from a research perspective, this led to a process to 4 different types of pedagogies in terms of how VR can be used in learning and educational environments. We ended the 6-month project with the summit, where we brought the entire group together and demoed all the different pedagogies in virtual reality. We even sent out headsets for the summit. It was actually amazing. The purpose of the summit was to get the Florida stakeholders to use the change management to understand the results of the pilot to move forward with it. It was well received, and you hear from one of the teachers that was a part of the program in a little bit. You can watch the entire recording as well on our website, exponentialdestiny.org, and that's quality education. And before I finish, let me just state the obvious. I am the only female up here at the moment, but we do value the importance of gender equality, and you saw some of the videos of my work sisters who unfortunately could not be here in person due to complications, but we know they're here in spirit. So you heard the work about the Florida School District, and those results were shared with the Chicago School District, and we started a project with them last month. My colleagues and I are team leads, and now the next speaker is the Chicago project manager, Zach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Shingles. I'm from Okemos, and I am the Chief Platform Officer. In my role, I'm responsible for the relationships we have with our software partners who produce the tools we use to create these experiences. You're probably wondering, how do you bring these types of experiences to life? Well, similar to how you use PowerPoint to communicate and teach people, we're essentially doing the same thing, but in 3 dimensions, in a way that can also be interactive, immersive, and experiential. You most likely have seen the news lately that 2022 is considered a really big year for the metaverse. Many of the headlines are going to some of the big players such as Meta, Apple, Microsoft, and Google, but the reality is there's an increasingly growing number of companies that play in the space, and a few dozen for the type of work that we do. Now, when we're evaluating platforms, we look at these 4 areas: decentralized blockchain-based architectures versus centralized, integrations such as AI-based avatars, even NFTs and cryptocurrencies, which are a part of a lot of these platforms already, support of 3D graphic design software such as Blender, and lastly, we have several techniques and approaches we have defined with these platforms support. For example, we may use the educational testing features of a platform and combine it with entertaining multimedia and games, which we like to call edutainment. Several years ago, VR software options were limited and expensive, but now a lot of these platforms you can get for free. For our experiences, we've been using 4 platforms that we find a good fit for our work. Of these 4, I'd like to recognize the contributions and substantial funding donation from Mesmerize and the Gatherings platform. We appreciate they are covering the entire 6-month Chicago program, which includes all hardware, software, and resources. Now, I'd like you to hear from the perspective of the high school principal and his students. So let me introduce our friends from Chicago.
And I am Charles Anderson, the principal of Michelle Clark. And so today we wanted to just talk about being involved with the Exponential Destiny program in the virtual world. We talked about some of the things that it's helped us with. So if you guys want to share that.
And so one of the things that we feel that has helped us with was the SDG #4, and that is increasing education systems. We feel that is totally gonna be a complete boost to not just us, but to students all around the world.
Thank you so much on that, Nivea. Let's hear a little bit more.
I'm excited for SDG 10, inequality, because we have access to more resources than other schools, and we're gonna have more opportunities.
One of the things that I would say is there's a lot of times that schools are on different playing fields depending on funding, depending on resources are available or where they are. This really just helps us get on the same playing field as everyone else. One of the things that's so important for both of them being on it is last year, one of the players who would have been a junior this year got shot and killed. And so this is going to be great for us as we start looking at social emotional trauma. SDG is #3 with good health and well-being. Because in Chicago, we've had gun violence hit our home here at the school. And so this is going to be a great way for us to talk about mental health. Also a way for us to talk about how do we support each other through the mental health. And so that's the third thing that I think we're most excited about, is moving into that direction as well.
So you just heard from a principal and teacher who was doing a proof of concept. Let me share with you a teacher that won National Teacher of the Year. Let me run that.
Greetings. My name is Kristen Whitaker, and I am tuning in from Washington, D.C., where I'm a former high school history teacher, the 2015 National Toyota Family Teacher of the Year, and current Associate Director of Digital Learning at the National Center for Families Learn. With 15 years of experience in the education field, most of which spent teaching in the public school system, composed mostly of underserved students in marginalized communities, I am so glad I can share with you the endless possibilities made available to teachers through the use of immersive technology. For over a year, I have been co-creating virtual learning experiences with partners like Marcus Shingles and Exponential Destiny that address SDG 4, quality education, as well as SDG 10, reduce inequalities. And I can confidently say that immersive and experiential education is vital to providing opportunities and opening doors for our most vulnerable communities. With this tech, we have the tools necessary to close the digital gap, build career skills among students and families, and turn lessons into digital environments, increasing the level of engagement in classrooms, families, libraries, and communities across the world. And this is just the beginning. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in the Metaverse soon.
We'll go to you, Pablo.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Pablo Gonzalez. I am the Chief Technology Officer. I just turned 20 years old, and I'm also from South Central Los Angeles. I am a first-generation college student. My focus here is making sure that we have the most optimal hardware and that we use for every Metaverse project when working with schools and businesses. What I'd like to cover here today with everybody is 4 areas related with Metaverse hardware. There are multiple points for access in any software in the Metaverse. And yes, you can technically use your phone and desktop computer to access these environments, but these are subpar experiences. The truly immersive experience is in a virtual reality headset. But there are many things to consider. What we consider when choosing a headset is primarily price and a standalone capability of non-unique computers. Our goal is to be a cost at a marginal level to account for lower income schools, and this opens up many conversations about the quality of the headset, and that leads to conversations about standards, which is what many of you here are experts in today. This graph is an illustration of some of our methodology around hardware. I look forward to seeing the work the ITU does around interoperability in this space because that increases productivity and effectiveness of work in the space. Here's a quote that I'm borrowing. Interoperability is the driving force of the Metaverse. These types of standards are critically important ingredients, and there will be no metaverse if we don't have these types of standards. So I see this body as being a very important part in the movement in education. On to augmented reality. We have talked mostly about virtual reality, but augmented reality is also a sector of the metaverse that there's some very exciting technologies emerging. The hardware is going to increase in complexity, so the standards and interoperability are going to be that much more significant. With auxiliary hardware, there are innovations in haptic devices coming to markets. Check out this space because what's coming is extremely innovative. Moving on to metaverse utility hardware, I personally hold an FAA drone operator's pilot license, which allows me to operate a drone in U.S. airspace legally. Here I am in Miami, flying a drone, capturing the topography of the community to then transfer the imagery into virtual reality. You can also see here an example where I scanned a wall, full of graffiti with LiDAR, with my personal phone, and then I was then able to transfer all that imagery into virtual reality and interact with it. I want to reemphasize the point that this is a non-coding capability and skill set. This is all the time I have for today, and I look forward to interacting with all of you today in our booth.
Thank you. So with that said, our last speaker is going to be Marco Vargas. So Marcos is my co-founder at Exponential Destiny. I met him when he was 15 years old. He was the valedictorian of his high school in South Central Los Angeles, and then got a full-ride scholarship to an Ivy League university. He's run several businesses, and he's my partner with the work that we do in our nonprofit. Marco.
Thank you, Marcus. Hello, my name is Marco Vargas, and I'm the co-founder and education sector president at Exponential Destiny. I want to thank the entire executive team, especially Marcus, for his mentorship, his remarks, and leadership. I have to say the last 2 years have been life-changing for us. Not only because Exponential Destiny established itself as a nonprofit in the United States, and the fact that we're speaking in front of a key agency of the United Nations, but also because, we're quite young, and this is just the beginning. But because over the last 2 years, we've really developed a skill set in the metaverse and become part of a community that makes us self-sufficient and financially free. We are living testimonies of that. The reason why my team and I are here today is because we are committed to helping young people and adult learners like us who come from a low-income background become creators, entrepreneurs, and most importantly, develop new economy and technology job skill sets that make escaping cycles of poverty a reality. To wrap this up, we have one special announcement. Now, I know Marcus made a joke about an NFT opportunity at the beginning of the presentation, but let me be clear that what we're about to announce is not a joke or a commercial venture. It's a social impact initiative that's organized by Exponential Destiny, a 501c3 nonprofit based in the United States, and it has the support of ITU leadership. All right, are you ready? Can I get a drum roll, please? My peers and I personally invite students from all around the world to compete in the Metaverse for SDGs Global Prize and VR competition. On the screen, you'll see the prize goals and objectives. You can learn more and sign up for the competition at www.sdgmetaverseprize.org. And also keep in mind that we are accepting sponsors on a rolling basis for the competition. If you're interested in contacting us, you can reach us at info@sdgmetaverseprize.org. And Marcus, I know you wanted to wrap this up with a special announcement about the prize award.
Yeah, so we'll just make a final few comments. Every single SDG, we're going to give you 6 months, and anyone that can create a virtual reality environment in the metaverse that will bring that SDG to life to build empathy and education awareness will get funding for the prizes, as well as awarded for the honor of building the best experience around that SDG. The Honest Company is supporting it with $30,000 around SDG 12. Also, Blend is supporting it with $30,000 for Zero Hunger.
We've officially opened up applications for additional sponsors. So if you have an SDG that's part of your core values and you want to sponsor it, please email us at sponsor@sdgmetaverseprize.org.
We're having a lunch today. We're sponsoring the lunch. The lunch is a maximum capacity of 200 people. If it's for heads of delegations with one guest. And also anyone that's interested in talking with us about the work that we're doing at Exponential Destiny. And also please, in closing, we have 25 Oculus 2 headsets over in the next room where we can take you through all these types of experiences with the latest types of immersive and experiential learning that's out there. Thank you everybody for your time today.
Thank you very much, Marcus, and thanks to the youth that came with you today and also that joined us remotely from Los Angeles. It's such a breath of fresh air to have the young generation here at the ITU at the Global Standard Symposium.
Metaverse for SDGs.
Metaverse for SDGs.
Metaverse for STG.
Metaverse for SDG.
Metaverse for SDGs.
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 Metaverse for Chicago.
Charles.
Sorry, Jerry had me laughing. Metaverse for STG. Oh, no. Did I say STD or what did I just say? Jerry, you messed me up. Marcus, say Charles one more time. Do it again, Marcus. Cut. Metaverse for SDGs.
The metaverse represents an experiential and immersive environment where we can gather and interact from all over the world. What a great place. A bunch of friends by a campfire.
Hey there.
Hey, Marcus.
Hi.
Hello.
Lavanya, what do you like about this environment?
Hi. So in the metaverse, I've learned how to use immersive and experiential methods for improving learning and education.
Abby, and you use special software to design digital objects that you would then bring into the metaverse.
Absolutely. In the metaverse, you can learn new ways to communicate and express yourself.
Yeah, I love the objects that you created, and that tour you took us on a helicopter yesterday on the planet Mars was amazing. It felt like you were there. And Alexei, is it hard to develop in these environments?
Want to see how I code in the metaverse? This is a non-coding coding.
I see that you can bring in and manipulate any object that you want. Is that what you mean by non-coding coding?
I can create entire scenes using my superpowers in VR versus writing technical code to digitally create environments.
Well, you guys weren't even born yet, but this reminds me of 1990 when I was your age, when I was first learning about this new thing emerging called the internet. And I had to learn JavaScript and HTML and all this coding to build these types of environments. Actually, I take that back. The environments I created were pretty basic, flat, and 2D. Nothing like what you've been created here. And I'm sure that those web development coding skills I learned back then that made me relevant are similar to the ones that you're learning now. Well, thank you, team, for taking us on that brief tour and giving us a glimpse of the art of the possible.